Alrighty. This is interesting. China, as you all know, is like the biggest hoarder of gold for the last few years. Buying more gold than anyone can imagine. And then not that long ago, we find out that the numbers they've been giving us have probably been half of what they've really purchased. So China Gold Association president says U.S. intends to suppress gold to ensure dollar's dominance. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but his first name is Sun, S-U-N. So we're just going to stick with Sun. Sun, China Gold Association president and general manager of the China National Gold Group Corporations, which is China's largest gold mining firm, by the way, has brought the U.S. manipulation of the gold market mainstream in China in a speech at the Jiazhu Forum, an annual finance conference attended by prominent Chinese economists. Quote, "Only gold remains on par with the US dollar to benefit from the Eurozone collapse. This is why the US began to suppress gold by issuing a statement 2 months ago that the Eurozone will sell its gold when it is unable to service its debt, then stating 3 days later that the news was false. Goldman Sachs made a forecast for the gold price at the beginning of the year, but suddenly changed its course, saying the gold price will fall to $1,300. Bernanke's speech followed, saying that monetary easing will end, that the U.S. economy is improving. This series of examples shows why the fall of the gold price is premeditated. This process is a genuine currency war. Then we have to ask the U.S. why they store so much gold, but instead of selling gold, they issue debt to other countries to rescue the financial market. The U.S. owes Germany so much gold, but instead of repaying immediately, sets a 2020 year deadline to return the gold. Remember that one? I've done talked about that a number of times. This is a downright currency war to maintain U.S. dollar hegemony by defeating all other currencies, he quoted. So he said, this guy goes on to talk about, I've submitted by Coos Jensen, in gold we trust. I've got a confession to make. I believe in conspiracy facts. After having witnessed scandals like the National Security Agency, the LIBOR rate scandal, Lance Armstrong, ISDA fix, the money laundering by too big to fail banks, the rigged currency rates, Bernie Madoff, the U.S. subprime crisis, bank bailouts both in Europe and the U.S., the Greek tragedy, 9/11, the Iraq invasion, and the Enron scandal. I came to the conclusion it is just what people do when there is money and power at stake. They conspire. When it comes to gold price manipulation, there are currently 4 camps. Camp 1 states that the gold price isn't manipulated at all, although we know bonds, interest rates, stocks, commodities, CPI, exchange rates, and thus all currencies are manipulated because of all these scandals that have happened. Furthermore, futures exchanges are flushed with enormous amounts of contracts in the most illiquid hours, trades that don't make sense from a profit perspective because the seller doesn't get the most money for its products. Sure, it happens both ways, which only illustrates how easy it is to easily the price is manipulated. Camp number 2 states that the U.S. and its allies are manipulating the price of gold, a historical fact, in a last attempt to save the U.S. dollar hegemony. Camp 3 states that the Chinese have been manipulating the price of gold in recent months in their challenging quest to diversify their foreign exchange holdings. Supposedly, they bring down the price of gold through the Western paper markets to buy as much physical gold in exchange for their still relatively strong dollars. If true, a strategy that has worked excellent in 2013. Camp 4 states that the price of gold is manipulated in conjunction by the West and the East, a result from deals made behind the scenes or an orchestration of a new monetary order through redistributing gold among nations according to the size of their economy. Because I learn every day, eventually I will choose one camp to reside. Meanwhile, I've been staying in Camp 2, 3, and 4 in recent months, perhaps closely circling the truth, occupied thinking of all interests, evidence, and complexity. One thing is for sure, the ones that manipulate would never admit and always blame another person. This is why all the Chinese blame the US. The next translation I present is from a speech by that same guy, Sun, the most influential reader in Chinese gold industry. Now, this is maybe the same thing. Let's see. Yeah. And he says, the hottest topic at the moment is oil and gold. The ground war we are seeing around the world is, I think, war for oil, whereas gold is the currency war. Why? We observe that the integrity was the driver for the US dollar to become the world reserve currency. The US dollar and gold decoupling from 1971 caused the US dollar to depreciate massively. From 1990 onwards, the Eurozone was in consultation to form a strong euro to counter the US dollar in order to prevent the latter from stripping EU or Europe of its wealth. The euro was born in 1999, supported by its strong economy and 11,000 tons of gold. With the birth of the euro, a competitor to the US dollar was then created. As so, the US decided to lay a trap for the Eurozone as part of their currency war. Some countries in the Eurozone violated the Eurozone's norms by issuing bonds. Which entities participated in the issuance? US investment banks. After the debt was issued, it was US ratings agencies that struck a blow to the Eurozone by saying that its economies had problems. Only gold remains on par with the US dollar to benefit from the Eurozone in euro's collapse. This is why the US began to suppress gold by issuing a statement 2 months ago that the Eurozone will sell its gold when it is unable to service its debt, then stating 3 days later that the news was false. Furthermore, Goldman Sachs made a forecast, again saying at the beginning of the year, there's going to be $1,300, gold price will fall, whatever. Buffett said that he would not buy gold even if its price fell to $800 US. Our research indicates that Buffett made a lot of money from 4 gold companies, so his statement is inconsistent with his personal action. Not only him, but George Soros, because I've done videos on both of them when they've come out and said, stay away from gold, and then behind the scenes, a short while later, they've done stockpiled some of the gold. Ben Bernanke's speech followed, saying that monetary easing will end, that the U.S. economy is improving. This series of examples shows that the fall of the gold price is premeditated. So I say that this process is a genuine currency war. Many people say that gold is just a beautiful thing, when we have to ask the U.S. why they store so much gold. Remember when old Ron Paul asked Ben Bernanke, one of my favorite speeches, Mr. Bernanke, is gold money? No. Okay, then why do central banks like yours stock so much gold? Why not stock diamonds or pearls or something? It's just tradition. It's not a tradition. Remember that one? I used that in adjacent for parody. Realist News, the summer of 2009 parody, which is really the summer of '69. That still might be my #1 song. It really might. Anyways. So again, we have to ask the U.S. why they store so much gold, but instead of selling gold, they issue debt to other countries to rescue the financial market. The U.S. owes Germany so much gold, but instead of repaying immediately, sets a 2020 deadline to return the gold. From this example and process, as well as some typical factors, this is a downright currency war to maintain U.S. dollar hegemony by defeating all other currencies. I shall stop here. End quote. So this is the Gold Association president, who is also the general manager of the China National Gold Group Corporation, which is China's largest gold mining firm, had something interesting to say. Now, you gotta understand something. I've said this too many times. Once you shine the light on evil, it cannot last much longer. Sure, it could last a little while longer, but who knows the exact time frame? All we know, and this is the case pretty much always, once you shine the light on a secret, on darkness, on evil, whatever it is, once you shine the light on there, and then you have other people of noticeable stature within society shining the light on that thing that you the bozo, nobody, shine the light on. Other people start really taking notice. Other big shots, right? Other CEOs, other big guys start taking notice. Hey, this is the head of China's Gold Council, whatever, right? Corporation, mining company. This guy flat out just unleashed everything we've been saying all these years about gold and silver price manipulation. In a little quick speech on a forum, a yearly forum, in which no other year prior to right now has anyone come up, even a lowbie, a low guy on the totem pole, come up and issued a statement like that, or even remotely close, on that Chinese forum. And they have it yearly. So you can see the pressure's been put on a few years ago by, you know, us. I'm not gonna say me personally, like I'm the guy that started this. Hell no, I didn't. I found out later. I read other things people were talking about, watched videos, watched Max Kaiser, watch Eric Sprott. I mean, you know, there's quite a few people I've watched. And not only that, you get to see what happens in the market. When you see a short period of time go by and the entire yearly output of the world for silver, in this example, is traded in like a day or two. The entire yearly output of mining for silver is actually traded on Wall Street, paper pushing, because none of the silver actually moved, it's just paper moving. But that paper supposedly represents the real thing. So that real thing's got to be somewhere. Can't trade the paper unless it exists, right? Wrong. The paper is leveraged at least 100 to 1, which is absurd. But that's how they can control it, by pushing paper. So that was exposed. We had JP Morgan, right? The collapse of Lehman Brothers. I almost said Goldman Sachs. Boy, I wish that was one that collapsed. And the massive short positions dumped. JP Morgan picks it up, prices rise, everything's kind of looking good. All of a sudden it's $49, it gets smashed, down to 30s, down to 20s, back into the 30s, touches 40. Actually didn't go to the 20s yet, it went back up to the 40s briefly, then back down to 30s, then into the 20s, etc. And that's where we are now. And then people start saying, wait a minute. Because at the same time, massive amounts of physical silver and gold for investment purposes was being gobbled up all over the place. We'd had numerous times, several times, where you couldn't get your hands on gold and silver. Certain types of gold and silver can't get that kind of, the mint. Remember the US Mint? Our own US Mint has never, ever ran out of silver. Ever. Until recent history. Last couple of years. There's a few times they ran out. And rather than just say, well, we're flat out, they came up with some excuse. Well, Remember the one? It was like the first week of December. We're not making any. We're not going to make any more of the. I think it was the 2012 Eagles. We're not making any more 2012 Eagles. We're just gonna go ahead and switch over the equipment to start doing the 2013s because it's so soon. You know, the new year's coming around the corner, and by January we'll go ahead and start issuing the new Eagles. And then the first week of January, finally after the first week of January, okay, here they are. And then wasn't it like a month later, because there was unbelievable purchases from the U.S. Mint, and then a month later they got behind again, couldn't keep up, right? This type of stuff has never happened. Silver Eagles have been in existence, I believe, since 1986. They've been producing Silver Eagles, and keep in mind, the only person that's going to buy a Silver Eagle is for investment purposes. That's it. You know, that's it. No one's going to buy a Silver Eagle because they need electronics components to build a, you know, solar panel or whatever. No, you're going to go get raw silver, you know, in bar form, melt it down. Now, you're not going to go buy a Silver Eagle from the U.S. Mint and pay a premium to get it. So that's the organization that has ran out. And then we had all the dealers running out too. And very little types of silver were available. You know, they had like 1,000-ounce bars available. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy one of those. You know, no. So this guy is of pretty big importance out of China. China's the one gobbling up so much gold right now. Now, keeping in mind, as the other guy commented about his comment, saying, you know, there's 4 camps of, or groups of people that, and here's what they think. Now, that guy from China is not the Chinese president, you know, of China. No, he's president of this gold group. So he thinks it's U.S. dollar hegemony. That's why they're doing this. But he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't realize he has this nasty, stinky thing called government, just like we U.S. citizens have. And if that government wants cheap gold, using a very perfectly strategic way of doing it, using their U.S. dollar reserves, in which they have massive amounts of, sure, they want to get the most bang for their buck. It'd be nice to dump their physical dollar holdings on paper contracts, causing the market to go down in price, just simply using their U.S. dollars to do it, and then gobbling them back up with other more U.S. dollars, gobbling them back up at the lower prices. Because once they sell enough contracts to cause a stampede in the market, then they can back off and let everyone else dump their contracts to push the price down more, because they're not going to hang on to their contracts, the other people. And then they get back into the market when it's even lower. So they're basically forcing their cost averaging price to go down, which is good. But if this was a real true currency war, or just for national security purposes, would our country allow that to happen? And when you see, again, JP Morgan coming out saying we have a client that has these short positions. If it was a Chinese company, it would have been found out by now. Because I remember a little while back, I watched a documentary, not documentary, an interview with a guy, I think it was on maybe SGT Bull's channel, I don't remember. And he said he issued a Freedom of Information Act to somewhere to find out who basically this client, so to speak, is. And it wasn't JP Morgan's client, it was some, I think it was something else, but it was like this no-name entity that's they were sure this thing was the one pushing the market around, but they didn't know what it was. So they issued a Freedom of Information Act request, and lo and behold, actually got the answer right back, easily, the name of the company that's doing it. And in the interview he said, I don't know why he couldn't or didn't, but said, I'm not going to tell you the name of the company, but if you want to issue a Freedom of Information Act request, go right ahead, because I got an answer and you could too. If it was China that company was, that he found out through the Freedom of Information Act, he wouldn't have had to even say, oh, it's this company out of China. He could have simply said, and would have said, oh my God, it's the Chinese doing this. You know, if you want to find out the company, here's how I did it. You can go ahead and do that. I'm not going to tell you who it is. But it's the Chinese, right? Or he could have said that. And you would have said that, being an American trying to find out who's rigging our markets over here. If it was another country, you would have flat out said, those damn Chinese bastards, they're the ones who are doing this. If you want to find the company, do the Freedom of Information Act request, but it's the damn Chinese. They're the ones who were doing this the whole time. Here we are, we thought it was the Federal Reserve and JP Morgan and the Treasury, and you would have said that. Or something similar, and he didn't. Therefore, it is an American company, which could be simply, again, another arm of the federal government creating some shell company to do this. Or one of the big banks with a shell company or a subsidiary doing this. And that's what I think it is. So I don't think it's the Chinese. I don't think they give a crap, honestly, about the price of gold, because they have so many US dollars that they want to get rid of. That it doesn't matter. They realize we couldn't buy enough gold. And they also have to realize we can't go out and buy too much gold, or we're going to cause a problem around the whole world. Well, you know, there'll be a shortage. We got to be fair about this somewhat, you know, so we don't cause a real war over us taking the whole world's gold so fast, cleaning the markets out, causing other countries to experience financial woes because of us doing it. So China is playing nice, but they're also playing smart, saying we know gold's that deal, we're gonna have it, so we're just gonna keep buying as much as we can. And if you will recall, a few months ago, did a video, China has deals with the largest refineries, I believe out of Switzerland, refineries for gold. They are scooping up all the gold that they can get their hands on, and they had to go to like 3 different refineries, one of them being the largest in Switzerland, setting deals with them to say, we want all the production you can give us. China knows. And for all of you who sit here and think, well, gold and silver should have rebounded by now, I don't care about it anymore, I'm out, I'm going to sell what I got. You are an idiot if you do that. I'm telling you right now. All you have to do is be a fly on the wall to see what the big boys are doing. And China is the biggest boy. And it is buying as much gold and silver. Remember, central bank guy from China said we ought to start looking at buying silver too, not just gold. Remember that one? That was many, many months ago. So, buy it now. This is the same thing as like Bitcoin, right? Those in on at first now have unbelievable fortunes from Bitcoin. This silver price suppression and gold price suppression is your opportunity for the Bitcoin thing to happen to you. Except it's going to be the real thing, gold and silver. And while most people are bad-mouthing it, oh, we told you to stay away, the financial media, oh, we told you to stay away, George Soros told you to stay away, and look, see what they said is happening. Everything that these people need to do, that they do, you need to do the opposite. When Goldman Sachs told its clients, get in the housing market, it's the greatest investment ever, give us your money, we'll invest in there too, you should have did the opposite. Because that's what Goldman Sachs did, and they're part of the club. And that's when the housing market took a dump, and they shorted the housing market, making billions of dollars on it. So if I hear these same people telling me to stay away from gold and silver, and then showing me by the price destruction of gold and silver, we told you so, that's even more ammunition for me to tell me, oh no, 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 no. Thank you for dropping the price to scare people, but you've given me a bonus. I'm gonna go buy some. That's what you need to do. Take care.